Hey guys, welcome to chapter 7. We're going to talk about mountains and different landforms this chapter. We're going to cover section A right now, though, and really just talking about mountains and hills in that one. Okay, so what is a mountain? Did you know that that's the Matterhorn, like the real Matterhorn? If you've been to Disneyland, that should look very familiar to you. The Matterhorn ride at Disneyland is modeled after a real mountain, and that's it right there. Crazy, right? Fun fact, I've been able to climb up inside of the Disneyland Matterhorn. Okay, so just a refresher. Topography, remember that's the varying elevation, the height of the land. And we use those topographic maps to show that. And so when we talk about mountains, it definitely has a different topography than some of the surrounding area, okay? A landform, there's all kinds of different landforms. They're just identifiable structures on the surface of the earth. We'll list a bunch of those later, but mountains and hills are two of the possible landforms, okay? A mountain is a natural elevation, just basically rising from the earth's surface, okay? And it rises to a peak, which is known as the summit, okay? A hill is actually the same thing, and there's not really a clear rule that differentiates whether something is called a mountain or a hill. But mountains are taller than hills. But I don't know, there's not like a specific elevation that we talk about that a hill goes into a mountain, okay? And again, that summit is just that peak of it. It's the highest point of either a mountain or a hill. Hills have summits too, okay? So we describe lots of different things about a mountain. I've been using the word elevation, okay, but that's a specific term that means a mountain's height above sea level, okay? There's actually a mountain in Hawaii. If you look on page 155 in your books, there's a mountain known as Mauna Kea, and it's part of the Hawaiian Islands. It starts at the sea floor, and so if you took the overall height of that mountain, it would be well over 10,000 meters, more than 33,000 feet, like twice as tall as Mount Everest. But because we only measure elevation above sea level, only about half of the mountain is actually above sea level, okay? The actual height of a mountain is the height of the summit to the lowest point of the surrounding terrain. Okay, so we talk about the elevation of Mount Everest, and it has an overall elevation of about 29,000 feet, okay, about 8,800 meters, okay? But its actual height is much less than that. Its actual height is only about 5,200 meters because you have to actually climb up to what's known as base camp to get up to the base of the mountain. It's in the middle of the mountains, and so its surrounding terrain is has a very high elevation. We still usually talk about the overall elevation of a mountain, not so much its actual height, okay? The terrain is just the nature of the land. Is it a flat terrain? Is it a hilly terrain? Is it a mountainous terrain? It's basically just the nature of the land, its topography, okay? The base is the bottom of the mountain, okay? It's the lowest elevation of terrain surrounding a mountain. It's actually very rare. Let me get my pen here. It's actually very rare just to have all this flat land and then boom, all of a sudden you have this mountain sticking up, okay? So that would be really easy to determine. The base of the mountain would be right there. Usually, and you can see a picture here, mountains are all kind of collected together. So sometimes it's a little more difficult to determine the base, but it's just kind of the lowest point you can get, all right? Relief is another description we use kind of when talking about maps. This is a picture of a relief map. And the relief of an area is the distance between its highest point and its lowest point. So if you are up in the mountains, there's quite a bit of relief because you've got all this up and down. If you're in the plains, there's very low relief because there's not much of a difference between the high point and the low point. If you're at a plateau, a big large plateau, it kind of depends on where you're taking the relief. If you talk about the relief of just the top part, there's not very much difference between the high and low point. But if you include the lowlands surrounding it, then you've got a bigger change between the highest point and the lowest point. So then it would be a more significant relief. So the relief totally depends on the region you're looking at, okay? You can see a lot of mountains in this region, so there would be a high relief. If you're only looking at the valley, then there's not very much relief at all, okay? Mountains tend to stick together, okay? There's a lot of mountain groups. I believe that's a picture of the Tetons in a Wyoming area, okay? A mountain range is a series of mountains in the same area, okay? So that would be a range of mountains, kind of a string of mountains. But then we can also get a mountain system. And this is a group of mountain ranges that are connected over a much larger area, okay? Mount Everest is actually part of the system of the Himalayas, and there's those measurements again. Its elevation is 8,882 meters above sea level, but its base is only 5,200 meters above sea level. So if you ever read anything or watch anything about people trying to hike to the summit of Mount Everest, the first task they have is getting to the base. And there's a base camp set up there, and they actually stay there for a while to acclimate to the higher elevation, okay? Mount Whitney is the tallest mountain in the continental US. So the 48 states that make up the continental US, not including Alaska or Hawaii, it's part of the Sierra Nevada range of mountains, okay? It kind of goes through California area. What else? Oh, the Rocky Mountains. The Rocky Mountains are actually a 3,000 mile string of mountains. It goes all the way from New Mexico up to Canada. So we've got lots of different groups of mountains. Excuse me. Another fun fact, and this is also on page 154, 155. Denali is actually the tallest mountain in the US. It's up in Alaska. Used to be called Mount McKinley, but now it's called Mount Denali. And it is 6,190 meters above sea level, which is a little more than 20,000 feet. Mount Whitney is only like 14,000 feet. So there's a big difference. It's a lot taller mountain up there. Okay? Mountains. That's it. That's all I got. See you later.